D'un côté, si des pas mon Dieu. No level, no level.
Hi everybody, it's Terminal 234, Fey on the mic with...
Dolapo here. What's up? What's going on?
Not much. I mean, there's a lot going on actually. We have so much to talk about, so I feel like we should just get into it.
Alright, let's do it.
Alright, so where do you want to start?
Did you hear about what happened in South Africa with Babes Wodumo?
Yes, most definitely did. But how about you just give us some background on it?
Okay, so Babes Wodumo is a singer, entertainer, model, the whole nine. Celebrity.
Okay.
Young celebrity, just kind of popping out there.
Okay.
She was dating, famous South African DJ Manfinsta, I believe is how you say it. But don't
You did your best.
yeah, still learning.
Okay.
But yeah, so they're in a relationship where they were. And over the weekend, a clip basically came out on Instagram Live.
Sure.
On her Instagram Live,
Okay.
they're in a hotel room, and one thing led to another. You don't really know the whole situation from the video, but all you know is that he hits her and he like attacks her and slaps her, and she's like left in tears and all that.
And I mean, again, we don't have like the full context of what went down.
Right.
But we do know that he basically hit her. So regardless of whatever the backstory is, what it looked like was somebody hitting a woman that
it looked like someone lashing out at someone.
Exactly.
He was mad about something, and he hit her, and he hit her multiple times.
Right.
And he took a break and hit her more. So it was one of those like...
There's no self-defense there.
Yeah.
Which is usually the argument.
You could have maybe caught yourself in the middle there.
Yeah.
But of course, like, just shone a light on domestic violence in Africa in general.
Although it is worth noting that his argument is she was, I think, hitting him in her sleep or his sleep or something along those lines.
Yeah. According to him, so he got arrested. He was let out on bail.
Yeah.
And his first to date, his only comments were basically just that it didn't happen the way that everyone thinks it happened. That he was asleep and she was beating him, and so he got up and defended himself.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. It really doesn't matter. Like, the only time I guess people would say, like, overall, it's okay to hit a woman if there is any time is if it's in self-defense. If you're protecting yourself, whatever the case might be. And in this case, from the video, it doesn't look like he was protecting himself in any way.
Right.
So
he looked like the aggressive one.
Exactly. So no matter what the backstory is, it didn't look like there's any reason for him to be hitting her.
Yeah.
So from my viewpoint, it's just a case of domestic violence, and I'm sure she was just smart enough to like capture it on IG Live so that, you know, if there's any question, which there always is whenever a woman is a victim, if there's any question, she has video proof. So I mean, good for her, good on her for thinking that far in advance. What do you think about the whole situation?
I mean, I think it was just obviously just a cry for help.
Yeah.
Right? I think whenever you put something like that on Instagram Live, like, she obviously had premeditated, okay, I'm going to set up the phone here. I'm going to capture whatever happens.
Yeah.
And there's basically I don't have a chance to think about, am I going to put it out, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of comes off to me as one of
point.
those, like, she had probably tried before.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like if it's Instagram Live, like, it's out. You can't
undo
Someone's
it.
going to see it. You're famous enough that it's going to be out there forever. And yeah, I think it was a cry for help.
Yeah.
You know, I think that
that's a very good point.
Basically has put out, she put on Instagram, like, right after that, she put a post. It was her and her best friend, who I guess her best friend maybe has passed away, or her friend, maybe not her best friend, one of her friends, and just like, oh, this could have been me, like if I didn't say anything and blah blah blah, and just that whole thing. And she's definitely not defending him or saying anything crazy like, oh, it's not how it seems. Like, it's very much how it seems from her perspective. But what do you think we should do as the public? What should
as a community,
right? Like, what should be our response to something like that?
Well, firstly, I don't think she would have felt the need to broadcast it, if you will, if she thought that if she cried out for help without that backing, she would be believed.
Right.
So I think maybe as a community, we could be a little bit more sensitive. Maybe the question when somebody says that, okay, my partner is hurting me in this way, should not be, are you sure, or how, or why? What did you do?
Right.
It shouldn't be that. And I'm sure those are the types of things she's maybe heard in the past, which then prompted her to, you know, put it in a film form.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you say that because, like, underneath a lot of the comments, there's the conversation of, oh, like, what happened here? And if you watch the video, it's on YouTube. If you watch the video, you can hear her. It starts off with her saying something.
Yeah.
We don't know what she's saying.
Yeah.
Right? It's not English, but she's saying something. And he basically, you don't really hear him speak for most of the video, and he just kind of flies into it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that some people are trying to say, like, oh, like, what was she saying? Like, was she trying to aggravate him? I've seen comments that she was doing it. Like, but why would she be trying to aggravate him?
And who cares what she was saying? Exactly. I mean, and what was even more interesting about the whole thing is, I mean, okay, we can't ignore the age difference there.
Right.
And with that, it looks like he's reprimanding her and almost like putting her in her place.
Yeah.
Which in African cultures, that's what you do with children anyway. Mm-hmm. So there's something to be said that, okay, he's probably used to, if he has kids, doing that with his kids, or as a man growing up, he had, you know, physical.
Essentially, it just kind of goes to her being inferior to him having that complex of, I can treat you this way, I can act this way towards you, I have the right.
But I was saying all that to say, like, do you think it's almost part of the culture? Our African culture.
What part of the culture? Like, what part of the culture?
In the sense that, okay, maybe his reason is like he's right. She was doing something while he was sleeping. He didn't like it. So to reprimand her and to teach her a lesson, he hit her. And again, that's probably what you would do with a child. Obviously, she's not his child. Obviously, they're in a partnership. So I don't think there's an excuse there for it. But maybe if you've grown up thinking that that's how you deal with conflict or whatever, that's just what it is.
It is part of the culture.
Yeah.
I think the degree is what you can argue about, right? You can argue about, okay, is the culture saying, like, is it part of the culture that you have to physically reprimand?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true. I think that, and if we're being honest with ourselves, we've probably all come from our families back in the day, like, that has probably occurred.
Yeah.
I hope that's still not occurring in our families, right? I hope that's still something, I hope that's not something that you could say, like, oh, yeah, I saw my dad do that.
Yeah,
like, you should... I think anyway, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but I think it's pretty normal now that that's not something
like we all know it's
that's
taboo.
Not something that's
yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
You can't put your hands on your wife in any fashion, even if you are in the middle of the culture, no matter how deep you're in, like, it's just not accepted. So maybe it's a part of the culture, but it's one of those things that we're purging out.
But do you think we're coming from maybe even, I don't want to say privileged, but let's go with it. Let's say we're coming from a privileged place where we do have insight on a Western sense, you know what I mean, into like how things should go and how relationships should be and how equal like a man and a woman are in a relationship.
So it's not something to apologize for.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I think it's something where
that's why
you have the way I kind of think of culture is developing is your culture is here and it builds however it builds. There's a culture over here and it builds however it builds. But now that we can connect to all these different cultures, we should connect and we should learn. We should take different things from other cultures to improve our culture.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, okay, even if we want to say it's part of the culture, the African culture, where it's like it's acceptable for something like that to some degree. If the Western culture is different, where it's like it's not acceptable, that's something we should steal from them. That's something we should.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
I agree.
Steal from us all the time. Like let's steal
from them. Yeah. Which again, that's why I even shied away from saying it's like a privileged point that we're in. It's just more like we're fortunate enough to be woke, for lack of a better word, and others should maybe follow suit. And domestic violence is definitely not just an African thing.
Of course, it's
worldwide.
It's in Western cultures as well.
Exactly. Any culture where it's like there's females and males commingling. Yeah, there's obviously going to be that type of abuse taking place. So I'm definitely not even saying it's just an African thing.
And speaking of abuse, I don't know, did you see the R. Kelly
of course interview? I did on CBS, right?
Yeah.
With Gayle King, our woman Gayle. She did a good job. She kept her cool. I just wanted to acknowledge that. She was really good given the circumstances.
She was, yeah.
Sounds like you watched it too.
I don't know if I watched the whole thing because
you saw the important stuff.
The whole clip. Like I expect it to be like an hour. But
no, it isn't.
I only find like 5-10 minutes here.
Yeah, I don't believe it's up to an hour.
Because you know why? Because they kept saying like, oh, we talked to him for 80 minutes. I'm like, so where is the 80 minutes?
Because it is part of the CBS morning news, so they could only take portions of it to film.
Yeah,
so I don't think there's the full interview. Either way, you saw what matters. And well, how about this? Let's start with: do you think it did him any favors?
No.
Okay.
I don't think that it did. I think that a lot of people are like coming at his publicist and like his whole scheme, but I don't think it was a bad idea to do an interview.
I agree.
Based on where he is. I think he just didn't execute the way he was supposed to.
Exactly.
I think that he probably had like a role. Like they probably gave him a script, right?
I agree.
How you're supposed to act. I think do it this way, but I think that his real emotions he
couldn't help but come out. Yeah, and I think he went there with his major plot points, like what I need to hit. This is where I need to, how I need to communicate it. Obviously, when the emotion gets the best of you, you react. And I actually think, if nothing else, it showed us, you know, a little glimpse into how he handles pressure.
Right. And so what did you think about him coming off the interview?
I definitely think, it did not give him any favors. I think, if anything, like I was mentioning just now, it just showed his true temperament. You know what I mean? How he cannot really handle the pressure of, you know, addressing very heated allegations. And I mean, you would think, like, you're across the table from a woman. You would think, like, maybe I should try my best to keep my cool here because the optics don't look good at all.
That's the one time you shouldn't look crazy.
Exactly. But I think it is worth noting that, like I mentioned, Gail did such a good job at keeping her calm, like being a strong woman, being very adamant about her viewpoints, not like sugarcoating anything, not yielding to him in any way, shape, or form. And it's something he's obviously not used to. Right. You know what I mean?
But I do have a question.
Sure.
So I understand, like, he didn't look good, but it sounds like a lot of what you're saying is his temperament, like him being mad, essentially. Yeah. Are we saying you can't get mad? Because we know people get mad. We know people that... No. I know people that I would say, like, I agree. Oh, that person, like, might have some anger issues, like, in specific moments. Yeah. But I would never think that they would do
They're going to hurt a woman. Right. You're right, but it's like coming off these allegations, it's just not gonna look good. Like, I'm looking at it, you're right, not from an objective point of view. I'm looking at it with a cluttered lens, like with, you know, the backstory and knowing what I know about.
He doesn't get a fresh start.
Exactly. So and it's not even about how he was saying it alone, it was what he was saying. Right. Things like, you can't double jeopardize me. I'm sorry, sir, just because you got away with abusing one woman doesn't mean you have a free pass for the rest of your life. Or, I don't know what a cult is, but I don't have a cult. Like, clearly then you're just being a stupid guy. Oh, it's stupid for me to do this. It's stupid for you to think that I would do this. No, to me, that's like pointing the fingers at you, like there's an issue with your logic and not taking responsibility.
Something that's what I was interested in was, I think it was on CNN. They had some FBI, or maybe she's not an FBI analyst anymore. Yeah. But she was an analyst basically that, like, reads body language. Yeah. And they had her like, oh, what do you think about R. Kelly? Yeah. Something. And it was kind of interesting how she pulled clips. The two most interesting I found anyway was when he was asked a question and he would, like, I forget the questions, but he would be asked a question, he would nod yes, but he would be saying no. No. And, like, he did the opposite where he was like, absolutely, but he was like, doing like no. Okay. So basically, like, his body language was not matching with what exactly. He was she was saying the body language is the truth. What he's saying. I mean, and I'm not gonna lie. Body language experts is kind of a pseudoscience, if you will, because much like lie detectors, it's just you have to have a benchmark for how somebody acts under certain situations. But still, it's worth looking at, and I think it's interesting. I didn't get to see that, but I would love to see that. Yeah, no, but I will say, like, again, he didn't do very much to say I didn't do these things. He did much more to say, like, I would be stupid to do these things, or like, you're an idiot for thinking I would do these things. You know what I mean? As opposed to, like, okay, point blank, I can categorically deny doing any of this. He's like, you're using my issues from the past right now. Well, that's because it's applicable right now. That means you're acknowledging that you had issues in the past. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I just felt like the whole interview was him being scared and not knowing how to, like, advocate for himself. Yeah. And it's just crashing and burning. Did you see the interview of the two girls?
The two girls. That was heartbreaking for me. Yeah. Because, I mean, again, I don't know if it's because we have such backstory, but to me, it was clearly a case of these women are brainwashed, and they're, I don't know if you heard this, but after that segment was shown, Gayle King said that R. Kelly was never supposed to be in the room, but he ended up being in the room the whole time behind them, so they couldn't see him, but he would cough or make loud noise, so they knew his presence. And you know, when you're, I mean, I'm going to call him their abusers. These are all alleged things, but yes, when your abuser is in a room, I'm sure whatever switches flick off that tell you, okay, I got to make him happy. I got to do what I got to do to make sure this goes like he wants it to. Yeah. You know, like, I'm sure that's what happened. And again, they went in there with the same points that he had. You know, these people are extorting me for money. These people are just looking for one thing. It's like literally you could put the book side by side. They just said it in their own way. Right. And again, they were very defensive.
They were very defensive, especially the other Azria?
Yeah, Azria, yeah. Jocelyn was more of the, I don't know, she's laid back chilling, but Azria felt like she had something to say. And again, most of what they were saying, you could, I don't know, if we're going to believe the parents and the events that took place according to the documentary, most of them were like lies. Like, you were not told to lie about your age, because in the documentary it was clear that like consent papers were signed, and like, you know, you had to have a chaperone and things like, so like, I'm pretty sure you weren't told to lie about your age. Like, R. Kelly made it a point to have your parents be involved to the point that you were of age. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, maybe, I don't know, who am I to say that a grown-ass woman can't be with whoever she wants to be with, but I am going to say, like, it was heartbreaking. What did you think about that whole situation?
I think I agree with you. I echo a lot of your sentiments.
Yeah.
They look very defensive. They look like... It's just one of those things you can't really believe what you're seeing. Sometimes you just... You know you have some facts, and you just know that's not a normal way of acting, if nothing else. You just know there's not really you don't have a good reason for why you're not talking to your parents. Other than, they're trying to take money from R. Kelly. That it doesn't sound like a reason you would hate your parents and never talk to them again. And just to wrap it up real quick, I don't know if you saw, but there was a video where not Azra, the other girl, actually like called her parents. Yeah, it was Jocelyn. Yeah, I agree. I don't know what that was, but I felt like maybe that was a move, like R. Kelly's team again doing something, like, because R. Kelly's manager basically said like they would facilitate the girls like reuniting with their parents, which is kind of a weird thing that you would have to facilitate. And I agree that's a point worth bringing up. And finally, also they arrested him again. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that.
So they're not letting him go. Yeah,
this time it's just for the child support stuff. But
either way,
it's
like
worth it.
It's everything is stacked against him.
Yeah.
I almost kind of feel bad for him, but then I don't.
You can't say that out loud.
Yeah. I feel bad for him because it's like you see like someone that like it's like a chicken that's about to get killed. And it's like, damn, I feel
But the
bad
chicken
for
didn't do nothing to nobody.
That's true.
R. Kelly did some things to somebody. So, yeah, I don't feel any ounce of...
Well, I almost felt bad for him. I don't feel bad.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
Don't feel bad for R. Kelly, guys.
Now, since we, went into the whole R. Kelly thing and the domestic violence thing, I guess we might as well just bring up something else that kind of goes with that, which is the whole Michael Jackson documentary. Yes, we have to, Dolapo. we talk about current events in pop culture. Okay, but I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, you didn't watch it, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So I did watch the 2-part documentary series, and then there was an hour-long, talk with Oprah and the two men after. I don't even know where to start. This is such a heavy topic because it is Michael Jackson at the end of the day, and he's such a huge part of our culture. Yeah.
How big a Michael Jackson fan are you, or were at any point?
I wouldn't say I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. I'm not the biggest one out there, but I respect his contribution to our world, our music, everything. So I mean, I do know all of the big hits. I know his albums. I'm very familiar with Michael Jackson and who he is and all of that. So, okay, what I will say about this documentary is if you are somebody who already was leaning towards believing that Michael Jackson is a pedophile and abuses young men, it definitely helps with driving home that thought. If you're somebody who does not believe it at all, thinks it's all a hoax, all for money, all like con artists coming out, whatever, I don't think it's going to help you. Change your mind. If you're neutral, that's where I actually wish. How about this? Where do you normally stand? Like outside of
I'm a fan of Michael Jackson, but I'm not. I mean, he didn't change my life, so I don't care about him that deeply.
So you would say he's neutral to you, or you're neutral to the situation?
I'm a fan, but I'm closer to neutral than to someone that's like, oh, I love I listened to a podcast that a guy said like Michael Jackson with his whole life.
Fanatic about it.
Did you listen to that?
I did listen
but I'm
to
not
that.
that guy, like he sounded crazy, like talking about how much he loved them. So I'm not that.
Okay.
But I'm a fan. I'm a casual fan.
How about in terms of these allegations? Would you say you believe it, don't believe it, or you're somewhere in the middle?
I tend to believe him, but I also haven't put that much thought into them.
Wait, you tend to believe him, meaning Michael?
No, the allegations.
Okay, the allegations.
I believe the allegations just from the standpoint of he went to court for this.
Yeah,
like,
twice.
Usually when there's a case, I know like we're all like on the police is always trying to set us up there, but police is not taking you to court. Like you're not going to court Especially think about the time that he went to court.
Yeah.
He was Michael Jackson.
Yeah. The Michael Jackson.
What prosecutor is really trying to take Michael Jackson to court? Like, that's not the case you want.
Okay.
Like, I can imagine the prosecutor, you're like, no, let's, like, put that after the next one. Like, let's do that next year. Not right now.
No, it sounds like we agree then.
So,
we're both, like, leaning towards, it's where there's smoke, there's fire for me. So there's some truth to it. To what extent the truth is, I don't know. But there's definitely some truth to it. Like you said, he went to court twice about it, once in the 90s, once in the early 2000s, 2 separate cases, not to mention those that he settled out of court, because there were other cases. We don't know how many, but there were several others.
So what new did the documentary bring up?
I mean, okay, it followed Wade Robson and James, I forget his last name, that escapes me at the moment, but James and Wade and their relationship with Michael. And I want to stress that they keep saying this documentary is about these 2 men and not about Michael Jackson, because right now Jackson's estate is suing HBO because of a contract back in the 90s. No disparagement clause was in that contract, saying that you can't say anything bad about Michael Jackson on HBO. But for them, they're saying this documentary is not about Michael Jackson. We're talking about these 2 men and their relationship with Michael. The thing to note about these 2 men is that in the past, they've denied Michael ever doing anything to them. To the extent that Wade, the one that I think is more compelling actually in the documentary, to the extent that he, in the 2005 trial, went on stand and said nothing happened to me. But when you watch the documentary, I think the big thing that they try to explain is that they don't necessarily consider it to be abuse, or at the time they didn't consider it to be abuse. It wasn't until they had men or boys of their own, children of their own, where they started thinking, yo, what happened when I was a 7-year-old in Wade's case and a 10-year-old in James' case?
So they're both like married with kids now?
Yeah. They both have families. I don't know if they're still with I think one of them might not be with their
but they had
partner any longer. Yeah, they both have men, or I keep saying men, but boys of their own, children of their own. So they both say that it wasn't until then that those things started clicking in their head as abuse. And at the time, they're like, this is a man I was in love with, and I thought this was sharing love. And that's, according to them, how Michael worded it. We're exchanging our feelings of love in this fashion. And the documentary, I must say, is very descriptive. Graphic isn't the word, but they went into deep detail. I will leave it at that. You kind of have to watch it, but with the detail they went into, it was hard not to fall into believing them. Like, I was compelled to believe them, but again, I think it's because me and yourself too are already at a point where we think Michael is probably guilty of something.
How old were they when they had these?
Wade was 7, James was 10. And they were describing it like, James was like, oh, it's like we were in a new relationship. We were doing things a lot. You know, when you get in a new relationship, you do things a lot. It's like we were just doing it. We were feeling each other, stuff like that. And I think what's interesting, I've heard both points so much, like people who totally think this is a lie, and I could totally see why they would, in the sense that there's been years and decades of this and nothing has come of it in terms of facts. There's no physical evidence. I mean, it's almost, we're too far removed from it now for there to be physical evidence, but the FBI investigated this man for like a decade and nothing came of it. So I could understand people were like, I mean, the powers that be who really wanted to get him down weren't able to, so why do we think there's such fact and validation with these 2 men? But then these 2 men, like the way, it's almost like the R. Kelly documentary to me. It's like when you see the victims talk about their abuse, you kind of can't turn a blind eye. You're like, there's some truth to this. I mean, and Michael has admitted to sleeping in the same bed as young men or young boys for years and years and years. He admitted to it. And people knew it. It was a known, I don't want to say secret, it was just a known fact that he slept in the same bed as little boys. And what 30-something-year-old man is sleeping in the bed with little boys and nothing is happening? I mean, but I don't know where you stand with all these revelations.
I think it's one of those things where sometimes you have to go into the situation not thinking about what's true, but thinking about the question marks and what you can't answer and what makes sense. So forget, like, to me, that's why I didn't really watch the documentary, because I don't really care so much to listen to what they have to say. Not that I don't believe them, not that I think they're lying, but because I already kind of believe them.
Yeah.
Right? I already think something happened.
Something shady, I
really don't even want to know the details. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to know.
Okay.
I know it could
then
be.
Then the documentary's not for you.
I can see how it's like medicine for them.
Yeah.
Right? They might get some healing from saying the story out loud.
Yeah.
I don't get that healing.
Yeah. So you don't.
Like, I don't necessarily have to be part of their process.
Okay.
But I think if you look at the situation, you have to think, what are the things that are weird? Like you just said, what grown man is slipping
in a bed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With boys,
yeah.
and we're not going to say anything about that. So
exactly.
I think it's one of the things you believe what you believe.
Yeah.
But sometimes we kind of pick a side, and it doesn't matter what they say.
And I think it's worth noting that there was a beautiful New York Times quote. Oprah actually mentioned it on her special, which we can talk about in a second. But it's something along the lines of like, celebrity supersedes criminality. So when you're a celebrity, it's almost hard for you to imagine them in the realm of criminal acts. And it's like, how can you see clearly when you're looking directly into the sun, is how they worded it.
Okay.
It's like, imagine, and this is an aside from the quote, but imagine if like it was just the random 30-something-year-old man on your block, like just in your neighborhood. Everybody knew he always had the kids come into his house and sleep in. Nobody would give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But when you're an icon who did not have a childhood and who had a whole PR thing around this that was able to change the narrative to him being robbed of his childhood, then of course we're gonna give him way more of a long leash than you would with anybody else. And like I mentioned, we can talk a little bit more about the special now, because I mean, Oprah's whole point with it is that this is beyond Michael Jackson. This is just, let's talk about sexual abuse and what a phenomenon it is, and how like it literally is like this smirch on humanity. It's like it infiltrates everything. It's like in our churches, in our schools, in our households. Like it's disgusting.
So I do have a question about the whole Oprah thing. So I've noticed. I don't know if you've noticed the same thing. Again, I didn't really see it.
Okay.
But I've noticed that there has been some backlash. I don't know how public or how big it is.
Yeah.
But I think the backlash is kind of interesting. People saying that
I agree.
Oprah was the one. She interviewed him.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah, she did.
When the whole thing was going on, and she believed him then.
Yeah.
And she was basically the voice of the people, right? So she's very much an intricate part of people accepting him.
Yeah.
Right? Because
you're right.
Oprah was the biggest thing. How do you feel about her now doubling back and switching? I don't want to say switching sides, because it's not about sides.
Right.
But essentially, it seems like the backlash is about switching sides.
Yeah, and no, I mean, again, what she was trying to drive home during the special is like, this is beyond the whole Michael thing. This is just talking about sexual assault on a deeper level. The fact that it is such a permeable, like, unfortunate part of our society, and that it all goes down to like grooming and explaining it on like a more granular level where sexual abuse is. So I almost want to remove all of the backstory from this particular situation, because yes, it's worth bringing up, but it shouldn't invalidate what she's doing here and shedding a light on a situation that's just, everybody finds it much easier to turn a blind eye to, because it's very uncomfortable. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
I will say though, like apparently she's really cool with Harvey Weinstein, and we know how integral he is to the whole Me Too thing. Or like she's had issues with, I think it's people at her schools in Africa and sexual abuse with that, and people are saying like, where's all this energy when it comes to things that matter to you? But for me, again, I want to make sure that we're not invalidating what she's doing in this situation based off of those other.
I think I agree with you. I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. Yeah. And it's a question to ask.
Yeah, why not ask?
The question we're asking is, what motivates you to do the things that look like they're for good? Okay. But what motivates you to do it? Yeah. Right? Because the same thing with the boys, the interview, it could have been anyone. It didn't have to be Oprah.
But it kind of had to be Oprah. No, it didn't. Oprah adds like a validation to your things that not many other people can anymore. Like maybe Barbara Walters of Once Upon a Time and things like that. But not very many people can sit down with such controversial topics and people want to listen.
That's true, but it's not true.
Like, who else? Give me somebody else that they could have sat with that would have had the same.
If you give me like 10 minutes, I could think of some people. My point is, it shouldn't matter. Oprah's job is not to tell us what happened.
Yeah,
right?
and that's not what she did.
Having a conversation about something. Yeah. Why can't they have a conversation with anyone else?
Well, again, okay. Well, her viewpoint too is like, she, throughout the course of the Oprah show, did 217 or so episodes related to sexual abuse. She herself is a sexual abuse victim. So it's always been a part of her almost brand to bring this up, to have these conversations. Right. And again, it's because it was about not abuse, but she calls it seduction, because these men. So she didn't call it abuse? Well, she's like, obviously it is abuse, but she doesn't want. Because, okay, when you're talking to a kid about it and bringing up the words abuse, that's when they, like, shut down. Like, oh, it wasn't it felt okay. It wasn't abuse. It was kind of fine. Like, I might have liked it. And so when you're talking to a boy about it, like a little boy about it, words like abuse almost shut them down and don't allow us to have the conversation with the people that are victims of it like we should. So again, it was more about, okay, let's look at it from a different perspective. And because I've had so much experience dealing with it on a professional level, on a personal level, in the mainstream, who better than to talk about it with?
I mean, I can see your points. And we're going to move off of this.
Okay.
I think we should have another conversation about Oprah and about the esteem that we put people in. Because we always have these conversations, but sometimes we don't have it about specific people. Yeah. Right? Because we talked about, like, literally what you just said. Yeah. About, oh, you look at a celebrity, and criminality is not the word, right? But the same energy of, if you're looking right at it, you miss so many other things about it.
You're right. Because you're so right. You're so right. You're so right. We could have that conversation any day.
Maybe next week.
Maybe next week. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and see what really. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk some music, some African music, actually. Yeah. Where do you want to start? Let's start simple. You know, let's talk about Wizkid's new song. Have you listened to it? Because I haven't.
Yeah, I listened to it.
Yeah, you were telling me about it. So
it's a good song.
Let us all know why we should listen to it.
Well, because it's Wizkid. That's why you're going to listen to it.
True.
But it's a good song. Okay. He's been kind of gone for a while.
Yeah, he's been quiet.
It's nice to have him back.
Okay, I need to hear it.
Yeah, because Burna Boy is taking over a little bit.
True, Burna had that new song last week, which was it last week or a couple weeks ago? Like I love it. Like it's so good.
Someone was saying that it's not a good song.
Really? Who? Yeah, they definitely hate it. Yeah. Our creative director.
It's an okay song. It's like, no. It's a good song.
I'm so into it. I think it's also depending on the like the setting you're in. It will definitely amplify the song a little bit. But really I'll definitely get to Wizkid's. But who else? Did anybody else release music? Is anybody else doing anything cool?
Oh man, I don't know. Someone is doing something cool. Mr. Eazi. So Eazi's doing
I heard about that. Yeah. What's happening?
So he has this. I don't know what to call it. Well, he has a movement or whatever you want to call it. It's called emPawa. Right, and it's essentially empowering other artists to kind of, make good moves and start their careers. Yeah. So he's helping up and coming artists. I think he wants to help 100, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Across Africa. Yeah, he picked some specific countries. Okay. But it sounds like he's going to expand it. I read an interview that he did. So it sounds like he's going to expand it because some countries are feeling left out naturally. So
of
he's
course.
Going to try to, go to some other countries as well. But it's really a cool idea. Essentially, he's going to help them with the music video. So they already have the song done. Okay. He's not helping them make the song. But if you have a song and he likes your song and you have something that he likes or whatever, and it's a whole team, so he's not necessarily the one picking. It's a team that he has working.
Wait, question: Are the people he's choosing only from African countries, or is there like U.S. or okay, cool. African artists. Okay.
So those are people that need the money anyway, right?
Yeah, now. Of course. Yeah, they need the help.
So he helps them shoot a video. He's already done some videos.
Anybody you know of, like any up and comers you're familiar with?
None that I know of, but I know one of the people that he helped. This Ghanaian guy, that baby or something like that. Okay. Jay something. He has a song. It's like one of the biggest songs in Ghana now after the video. Okay. So obviously it's kind of working. Yeah. It's also going to be like a camp. So it's not just the music video. It's also teaching them about the music industry.
And the business side of things.
Exactly.
Yeah,
because Mr. Eazi is basically like one of the smartest African artists out there.
He set himself well. He set himself up well, I should say.
He did, yeah. So he set himself up well. He's, always doing things based on like being smart.
Yeah.
Right? Like he talked about when he released his last album, he went straight to like East Africa. And it was like the reason he went there is because they listen to music way more than anyone else. That's the place that he wants to market the most.
I didn't know that. Did you know that?
I didn't
East
know
Africans
that, but it makes sense.
Consume music so much?
Because essentially it was like they consume their music, but they consume all the other music. So they basically have the most music to consume, and they consume it all. So, I mean, the reason made some sense. I'm sure there's more research behind it.
Okay, yeah.
But, yeah, I just thought it was a good thing. What do you think about it?
I think that's super dope. Like, I think in any industry, when the OGs are mentoring the youngins, if you will, and making it a priority of theirs, I think that's just the coolest. Because if I ever was in a position to mentor and like for those that are looking up to me to be taken under my wing, I would totally take advantage of that. So cool of him to do that. I hope he continues it. You know, I hope it's not one of those things that just drops off after the first year. But he seems like he's taking it on as a huge priority of his. So
yeah, it is. I mean, what I think I like the most is just he's always kind of been about his business. And he's like kept it up and hasn't tried to change up and, you know, get carried away with that. Like, he doesn't seem to be carried away with fame and all that.
Wait, quick question. Because I know other people are listening wondering. So can we get down to the bottom of it? Is Mr. Eazi African, or not African, Ghanaian or Nigerian? Just tell me.
He's Nigerian.
Okay. And how is the Ghanaian thing?
So I don't know how true this is. I'm having research. But from what I know, we have a Miss Eazi fan. She's going to correct us. But my understanding is that he is Nigerian, but he went to Ghana like for school and like ended up just staying a little bit after. And tried to establish himself there. He's basically like been hustling his whole life. So he was like a promoter, like a club promoter. He like had businesses where like he would import like soda, some kind of drinks from Nigeria to Ghana. Like,
really?
He's always been trying to hustle.
Hustler. Yeah.
Even music, like for him, wasn't even something he really wanted to do. It was kind of like someone told him, like, yo, you should do music.
So it's a side hustle that popped off.
Actually, it kind of fits him in the emPawa thing because he said the reason that he got big as an artist was because some of his friends that really liked his music
made it
and
a
really
point.
supported,
they
donated to make his video.
Oh,
so they made his music video for him, and then it blew
popped
up.
off from there.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
So that's the same energy he's trying to,
Okay. I just know that's a point of contention. People don't know who wants to claim him, how he should be claimed.
It was a big thing when he first came out. His music, like, from his music, you would think he was Ghanaian.
Yeah.
But, like, he was Nigerian. And then I think it really came out when there was a Ghanaian award show.
Okay.
But, like, he was the biggest artist in Africa, but then he wasn't nominated.
Yeah.
Essentially because they're like, it's for Ghanaians and he's not Ghanaian.
Ew.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand the energy of it too, though, because they want to recognize.
True. Their own.
There, like they probably should have nominated him.
I think so.
They didn't nominate him, so that's when everyone found out, like, oh, he's Nigerian, and like, of course, like now, like you can, like he speaks Yoruba in some of his songs. Like, it's not a secret.
It's not a secret anymore.
We just didn't know.
Yeah.
It just confused us.
Okay, we can move on, but I think there's a little bit of beef going on. That you were mentioning with
LD
help me here.
Dawn.
Yeah, LD.
LD and emPawa. So basically, emPawa, like, they have a song together.
Okay.
It's LD's song. It's called Big Boy. I'm sure you've heard it before. It's
I
like
have.
one of those songs that, like, you know,
everybody's heard it. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think emPawa posted something online, basically like snippets of a performance of his.
Okay.
And he was performing a song, and LD like went.
Oh yeah, but he's only featured on the song.
Exactly.
Right.
He's featured on the song. So LD went off and was like, "Why is he performing my songs?
Yeah.
You tried to steal my song. You're still trying to steal my song." And you know, of course, like he calmed down after the fact and was like, "Okay, like I shouldn't have really done all that."
Okay.
But it seemed like it was a lot of like it was a backstory to it. It wasn't just that he was performing the song. So yeah, that happened. He apologized to his fans, not to him, not to emPawa.
So clearly there's some beef there that
definitely
is unresolved.
He tried to steal the song and try to make it his song. X, Y, and Z. But I think what was kind of interesting to me was, what do you feel about artists performing songs that they're featured on?
I think if they're on good terms and there's no bad blood, why not? You know, especially if sometimes the feature is bigger than, like, imagine like a Drake song where Drake is featured on it and that feature is bigger than the song itself. Of course Drake is gonna do it. So you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're on good terms with the person that actually has the song, or it's on their album, discography, whatever, then there's no reason you shouldn't perform
I kind of agree, but sometimes I don't like seeing an artist perform a song that's like Because think of like, okay, like a song that's featuring Drake is a little bit different because most of the time, like,
the features what highlight. Made it right, the song.
Drake is the the song. But you can think of songs. I wish I could think of a song right now. Where? Let's say like "Shake Your Toe Feather." Remember that song?
Yeah.
The Diddy song.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course I know.
Do you really want to go see Murphy Lee perform the song? You're like, yo, this is not your song, even though he is the highlight.
But if you're at a Murphy Lee performance,
I don't think you would expect that song.
No, you think so?
I don't think so. If you're
okay. How about this? Let me give you a more current example. You know how Shy Glizzy is on the Goldlink song Crew?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Shy Glizzy's part is the part everybody cares about, not even the rest of the song. So if you go to a Shy Glizzy performance or a concert, whatever, that's one of his biggest features or biggest verses to date. So what's he gonna do? So he's gonna perform it. No, you know how artists only do pieces of their songs even at a concert. So he would just do a small little feature and move on.
Nah, I don't like it.
You don't like it?
He should make his own song.
Which he has plenty, but it's like when people know you for a verse, you're gonna want them to play it.
I see your point. I agree a little bit, but I just don't
respectfully
I feel like
disagree
if I was
the
artist, if I was the one that was on the feature, I'll probably still perform it, right? Because but I'll feel some type of way. Like I wouldn't really want to. Like I'd be like, I want to perform my own song. Like, but if you're in good terms with a guy, like let's say you guys are even friends and you just collaborated on it, and you know he has no qualms with it, and you know it was a highlight to your like career thus far, you wouldn't care. You would want to play it. I would care. Okay. I would not want to.
We can respectfully disagree on this one.
I don't think I want to perform that song.
Okay.
I would do it, but I wouldn't want to.
Fair enough.
As soon as I don't have to perform that song anymore, I'm not gonna perform it by myself.
Okay.
I want to perform with other people.
Yeah, I feel you. Okay. Anything else?
No.
You think we're good?
Yeah.
On to the next.
Oh, it's Ghanaian people. They had their Independence Day recently.
Oh, nice. Okay, good for them. Yep.
Did you go to there was a show?
There was?
Yeah, R2B's, King Promise.
Oh, no, I didn't go. I'm not really hip. I need to work on that. Yeah.
Get to Ghanaian music. That's the...
Were you there?
No, I wasn't. Okay. So they were charging like $80. This is what I want to talk about. They were charging $80, and I was gonna go because some of my friends were going.
Yeah.
But I was like, $80. I mean, I know there's a bunch of people there.
I was gonna say, isn't it multiple acts?
I don't care. I'm not paying $80 for those people at that time. It felt
clearly you're not that huge of a fan of any of them.
I'm a fan, but no, not that. I mean, I'm not really a concert goer.
Okay, that also probably
has a part. So I have to
really
like you, and the price has to be right.
I see.
Like I went to go see Jay-Z for like $40. Like that's.
But where were you sitting?
I could see him on the screen. Like half the people
in there. But I'm just saying, this $80 ticket, if you get there early enough or whatever, you probably have a chance to even be right up on stage.
So crowded to be pushing you.
It sounds like you're just not a concert person.
I don't, especially with African people. African concerts are
good point. Yeah.
I went to Mr. Eazi show, and it was the worst experience ever.
Did he even come out on time?
Oh, of course.
Because
it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
Actually, because this man he was still coming.
He wasn't Davido level bad.
He was still okay. But the issue was like, I didn't realize he was as big as he was at that time. At the time. So I thought I was like getting in early, like, oh, no one knows him yet. Yeah. But all these Ghanaian girls were there. They wanted to rush the stage. Like, they wouldn't let you see anything.
Really?
Yeah, it was annoying.
And I'm going to a Burna Boy concert soon.
In April?
So you're making me worried, yeah.
I'm going to go to that too.
You really are? Have you bought your ticket? Is bought even a word? Did you buy your ticket?
No, not yet.
Excuse my poor grammar.
A couple weeks before. Did you buy your ticket already?
Yeah, I did. Of course.
How much is it?
It was like 20 something.
That's
I think it was under 30.
Yeah, that's
and Fillmore's a good venue too.
That's what I heard. I heard that's actually.
But you're still making me kind of nervous because I'm like, oh, it's like a nice venue, whatever.
I heard Fillmore's a nice place. I saw Burna Boy
last year. I think he was here last year.
Yeah, I saw him last
year.
I forget the place he went to. But it was good, but he came out so late that like he retired.
I feel like he's bigger now too, so I'm worried about the crowd.
I'll go late.
Yeah.
I know what to do now.
I feel like I'll go early. I want to be one of those girls that are bum rushing the stage.
No, don't go early. Early is bad.